Hey everyone! So today apparently is the day of videos. I wanted to do another video. And I wanted to talk about growth. I did a prior video just sort of talking about the patterns of growth, but what I really wanted to communicate is more a message of hope. I see so many people come through the doorway here, and understandably so, they're in such despair. They feel so lost, so hopeless, so feeling like nothing's gonna ever get better, so broken. And it's so hard for me because I get and I can sit in that space with them. I totally understand it. But the hardest thing for me is that I know from my own experience of just working with people for as long as I have, and the patterns that I've seen, that it's so hard for me to communicate the message of hope. It's so hard for me when someone is in just this absolute despair to try to create the space and the sense that something better is to come, because it's not a match oftentimes for those moments, right? Like when we just feel like everything's just falling apart and we're losing everything that's important to us and we have no sense of where we're at or where we're going, like that's just not a message that can be received well in that moment. And that's not to be blamed on a person. It's really normal. And but that's sometimes the struggle for me, is that I know that I've seen it hundreds of thousands of times, and everybody's experience is so unique, but the pattern is this. People, and I had written this on my website so many years ago, and I see it with different eyes, with a different depth now, with my continued work. I truly believe, and the evidence has only supported the fact, that we are inherently moving towards growth. Always. We might feel like we are crawling, being dragged through life's obstacles, like face planting, biffing, like messing it all up, and that is part of the growth process. But obviously we feel like big failures in those moments, like everything is wrong, that nothing's going right. And as I stated in the video about growth patterning, like that is often a time of great growth, actually, is when we feel like everything's falling apart. It's sort of like a shedding of a skin, a snake skin, like we're growing out of a life that we built and we're morphing into something bigger and better, but that change feels horrendous. It feels like loss. It feels like devastation, and so we're scared, and it is really painful, and it's hurtful, and it's sad, and so growth is not easy, but there's such a sense of loss to some of it before the light comes, before the period of the positive things presenting, to understand, to help us get like there's a purpose for that. And you've probably experienced it in your own life where you felt like everything, maybe you lost a job or a relationship or something, and you thought, oh my god, my world is ending, and then something better comes, and in retrospect you're like, oh my god, I'm so glad it happened. It was terrible. I felt terrible when it was happening, but I'm so glad it did, because then I got, this amazing new partner, or this awesome job that makes me so happy. But in those moments, we're blind and deaf to those type of words. And so if you are in that phase of life right now where you just feel like you're a big hot mess and nothing is going your way, I just want you to know that you can't not grow. You just can't. Even if you feel like you effed up an opportunity, another one will present itself. It's not a one opportunity situation. Like another one will happen. And if that one gets messed up, another one will happen. So we're not penalized. Our choices can intensify our learning cycle, if that makes sense. Like you might learn with more experiences when to exit a relationship that's not serving you, or you might learn to determine what's a better match for you on a career-wise and things like that, what resonates for you and what is not going to match what you need. And you can do all of this and really start to realize, like, growth is inherent. You will continue to grow as a person. You're meant to grow. That's the purpose of this. And even if you're in a negative, despairing state, I will tell you, I have never seen a person really not grow on some level. We can make choices that impact the amount of that, or how intense things have to be until we start to make a choice differently, but that choice will eventually come. You will eventually make that choice and move towards the direction that you need to. And so I invite you to always understand and know that you aren't messing it up. Lessons in life can be hard, and sometimes we have to have kind of repeated negative falls or setbacks with certain themes in life before we really truly understand the depth of those themes, and really understand the totality of it to make choices that are different. But that's part of learning, and though we feel like we're really messing it up in those moments and that something's wrong with us, we're defective or different from other people, you're not. Everybody goes through this. People lie about it and they fake it, and which is why social media in itself is sort of a negative thing and doesn't help, because they think it glamorizes life in a way that's not true. A lot of people will put smiley, happy faces on Facebook and they're miserable, but that's sort of the social expectation that we need to show that we're, doing great. And keep up when most people aren't keeping up. Most of us are here and we're, doing great maybe in some areas, or we feel like we're doing great in no areas or whatever, but we all cycle through different growth phases. So I just wanted to let you know from my observation, and this isn't me like blowing sunshine up your butt, people always move towards the positive. So when I have people that cross my doorway and they're in a really negative emotional state, it's not that I press those words onto them because they're not in that space, but I can hold the space for where they're at. And I have an absolute trust in knowing that they will figure it out. They will grow. It's like I said, you almost can't not. And so know that you will do it. You might have to get slammed up against the wall a few times to finally make a different choice, or feel like you have no choice other than the choice that you need to do. And you will go through that crazy roller coaster ride and you will come out the other end just fine. And it is my greatest hope that you will start to see kind of the cycles of these themes and learn how to ride the ride so that it's a little less scary and intense for you, and have confidence that you are great and you're wonderful and that you will find your path. If you're in a receiving mode and really start to listen to you, you will find it. It might not be what you always thought it should be, or what you're told it should be, or what you even ever imagined, but you will know it when you see it and you feel it. And you will make choices based on that, and you will move into a different phase of life that brings greater for you, and that can take sometimes a little while after what seems to be a clearing of everything and you feel like I have nothing. You'll see lots of memes talking about the negative has to leave before the positive can emerge, and sometimes there is sort of a time gap between the two, so people feel really alone and lost and like they have nothing before finally that positive stuff enters. And then it's almost always in retrospect that they look back and are like, it was the worst time of my life, but I'm so glad it happened. So that is all. I just wanted to let you know that you are on a path of growth. It's inherent in you. You can't not improve. You can't not grow. It will happen. The amount of that is really dependent on your choices. But you will figure it out. It just may take a while, but to be patient with self, loving with self, forgiving, and look at what's going on. Try to figure out what the emotional themes are, and invest in you. Invest in working these things out so that you can make it through kind of this dark tunnel and get to the other side. Life doesn't have to always be so challenging. It will have moments of that, but sometimes our own fears and our own decision making kind of leaves us in those negative places a little bit longer than what is necessarily needed, right? It's just our stubbornness and usually our brain, our head talk stuff that make it kind of difficult for us to get out of that space, but it's doable. So anyway, I am hoping this was a message of hope and encouragement if you're kind of in that space, please know. Always look for any outlets that resonate with you as being helpful to you. Any type of work to kind of help move you if you feel like you're in this space, and you know, an offering of love and light to just kind of help you bump along life like the rest of us. So thanks for your time, and have the greatest of days.